Good morning, my dear friends. I would like to invite you to a talk on the duties of the banker in dealing with special type of customers like joint stock companies, drunkards, lunatics, married women, etc. In this session, we are all aware that a bank is an institution which is primarily dealing with the public and their money. The primary duty of a bank is to accept the deposits from the public and also lend the money to the needy people in the form of loans and advances. While coming to deposits, they are accepting savings deposits, current deposits, recurring deposits, and fixed deposits. Coming to loans, cash credit, overdraft, money at call and short notice, and term loans and the like. This is the primary service of a commercial bank. Of course, there are some other secondary functions like a banker being serving with different positions as agent, collecting banker, paying banker, guarantor, merchant banker, and the like on collecting some fees. Besides these, he'll be doing some general utility services like issuing of demand drafts, pay orders, banker checks, providing safe deposit lockers, also giving letters of credit or bank guarantees to the needy people. And the recent advances of automated teller machines, where there is facility of withdrawing money even during holidays or also during the non-working hours of the institutions, and it is possible to have the money at our doorsteps without going to bank. In addition to this, there is a provision for cash deposit mission, also e-commerce, where you can make the checkbook printing, requests, and other donations. All can be made with the help of ATM centers. All these services which are related to the individual customers or persons, but in dealing with the special type of customers, say non-individual entities, the banker has to be very much vigilant and has to take the responsible job, and he should act with a lot of prudence. At the same time, he is expected to keep a very good rapport and relations with those customers, and with this special service he can attract their interests and thus invite more and more deposits for their branches. Now, let us look at the duties of a banker with respect to the joint stock companies. We know that the joint stock company is an artificial person which is created by law with perpetual succession and legal entity and can be sued. Also, it can sue in the court of law. In addition to this, we will be having a common seal. Now here, the first and foremost job of a banker is to go through the prime documents like the certificate of incorporation, the memorandum of association, and the articles of association of the company. He has to examine those instruments before opening the accounts. If required, he may request and obtain the copies of the latest documents as amended up to the date, and he can record or note down the relevant points or other important provisions relating to the share capital or objects of the company, liability clause or name clause, the limits of the borrowing powers, and along with the duties of the directors and other related regulations or rules governing the activities of their company. In the case of a public limited company, he is at liberty to visit and inspect the certificate of commencement of business and get himself satisfied that the company has been authorized to commence the business operations. Next important aspect is that if the banker has any doubt, he may also be permitted to visit the office of the Register of Companies to inspect the relevant records pertaining to this company. He is permitted to obtain the copy of the resolution of the Board of Directors meeting to the effect that the appointment of banker, mode of operation of the accounts of the company, names and signatures of the authorized officers appointed for the purpose of operating this account. If necessary, he can take the certificate of the resolution or else true extract duly attested by the chairman and also countersigned by the secretary can be obtained. Now, the banker is required to obtain the specimen signatures of those officials who are operating along with the instructions in the event of any one of the signatory is not present, then the alternate signatory who is permitted to sign over those instruments should also be obtained in writing. Similarly, he has to record all the information pertaining to the first directors of the company. While in case of the company already floated, say the existing company, he can ask for the copies of annual general meetings and reports therefore 1 or 2 years of the recent previous years. Whereas coming to the private limited company, he can verify the documents and take precautions. Here, he need not insist upon the copy of certificate of commencement of business because they need not wait for certificate of commencement. Once they got incorporated, they can commence their business operations because it is advised with a view to safeguard the interests of the bank as well. And he should be very cautious and he should not grant any sort of accommodation without having sufficient security. He must exercise all the care with regard to the recently converted entity and should get himself satisfied about the documentary support provided by the company. While coming to the accounts involving overdraft, here it is very important to take the special care in case any of the request is made for providing the overdraft facility or to extend the limits and in opening those accounts in the name of a registered company. First of all, he is required to go through the memorandum of association and articles of associations and also with the borrowing powers and also see the restrictions, anything imposed thereon. In particular, with respect to the non-trading companies. So, all the companies have implied power to borrow the loans to a limit or such an extent as is found necessary and reasonable for carrying out the objects declared in the memorandum of association. At the same time, he has to make note of the limitations imposed in the articles of association with regard to the borrowing powers which will be exercised by the directors of the company as and when required. The banker has to obtain a written document having the information pertaining to the powers of the directors to mortgage the assets of the company and note down the rules which regulate the controlling and signing and endorsing over the negotiable instruments like checks and bills of exchange or etc. Here, again and again, he need not insist upon a separate resolution every time from the board of directors because it's a general clause. Whenever they want, they can borrow, but it should be in conformity with the limits prescribed. Moreover, he need not inquire into the purposes of the advance. If it is not misapplied, it can be avoided, provided the banker has acted with bona fide and without knowing about the intended misapplication of the funds leading to misuse or siphoning out these funds elsewhere. He may obtain a certificate from the company as to the proposed advances are within the director powers granted to the directors, and the certificate must be duly signed by the chairman or director and got attested by the company secretary for this purpose. So this is all with regard to the joint stock companies where the banker has to take the utmost care in dealing with these accounts. Now, the second category is illiterate persons. As we know, India is a country with more than 40% illiterate persons living in rural and urban areas where there is possibility of illiterate persons having bank accounts or contracting in this regard. No law can prevent an illiterate from entering into a contract, provided he is a minor. So let us see. An illiterate person is a person without any education, and he is not capable of either reading or reading and writing, and he cannot sign his name. The Indian Contracts Act 1872 allows every person who is a major and has a sound mind and is permitted to transact, and he is not in any manner disqualified from entering into contracts to open the accounts with a banker. Now it is for the banker to take utmost care with respect to the accounts dealt with by an illiterate person. The bank may open an account for an illiterate person, provided he or she calls on the banker along with a witness who is already known to the banker for the purpose of introducing this person to the banker. The intending and interesting account holder as an illiterate person is required to have the following documents to be submitted, of which the first and foremost is the passport size photograph. Next comes the Aadhaar certificate or any document in support of his residential proof, and third one being the certificate giving the proof of age. Here, the passport size photograph, first one is attached to the application, and second one will be affixed on the passbook, and third one will be made use for the purpose of identification. And as usual, the Aadhaar certificates or any election card or other things will be serving as documentary proof in respect of residential accommodation, also for the purpose of obtaining the information relating to the age of the person. So here the person being uneducated. Usually, the left hand thumb impression will be obtained for the male persons and right hand thumb impression will be obtained in respect of female account holders for the opening of this form, which will be duly attested by some responsible persons. Of course, in the recent times, we have got the closed circuit TV cameras are installed in almost all the banks. This will also stand as the evidence with their backup in the footages in times of any complications arising in future. Now, the purpose of this is to have the clear record of one or two identification marks to be entered in the relevant documents of the bank, which has to be recorded at the time of opening of an account. So, the passbook given to the person should also contain the attested photograph with the seal and signature affixed with date from the competent authority of the bank. Now, at the time of withdrawal of any amount from the bank, it is required that either she or he has to visit the bank personally with that passbook and affix his or her thumb impressions as discussed earlier with the left thumb or right thumb as the case may be. And with those impressions will be affecting the withdrawal from the bank before making payments. Now, let us look at the lunatics. It is a peculiar case. Lunatics are the persons with majority, maybe more than 18 years of age, but they'll be not having the sound mind. Generally, a sound mind in a sound body is a good old saying which will enable a person to enter into contracts. Now, the Section 12 of the Indian Contracts Act 1872 is stating that the persons from unsound health with their unsound mind and lunatic state of affairs are disqualified from entering into any kind of contracts. But the disqualification does not apply to a contract entered into by a lunatic persons during the period of their insanity or which are ratified during such period. According to the Indian law, the contracts with persons of unsound mind are not only voidable but also held void. Consequently, no banker would come forward knowingly to open an account in the name of a person with unsound mind. because that would easily land him in the difficulties involving so many complications and troubles. When it comes to honoring the checks, he may get the risk of unjustifiably on dishonoring those instruments by his coming to know of the lunatic state of the affairs of the customer. Then he may prefer to debit his account without adequate authority. But once having to come to know about his state of lunatic condition, all kinds of operations of his account should be suspended forthwith until he receives the order from the court or the certificate to the effect about his sanity from a qualified medical authority who is competent to issue the same. Now, let us look at the drunkards. Yet, this is a peculiar case where the banker has to be very cautious in dealing with the persons like drunkards who will be under the influence of intoxication by consuming liquor or any other narcotic drugs. In case a customer who is a party to the contract can prove that while at the time of entering into a contract that he was incapable due to the effect of liquor or understanding the terms of contract and forming a rational judgment as to its upon his interest, which is fact, and it was known to the other party, he may have the right to contract got set aside by the court of law. If a customer tenders in a drunken state of mind and presents a check for payment and he may insist upon, the banker would be advised to keep a record of the witness of the transaction and obtain the signature, and only then he can make payment to that effect to the customer. In this regard, the recently provided electronic gadgets like closed circuit TV camera recorders and footages with backup will be helpful. They will be standing as proof in case of any litigation which may arise in future, and this will be serving as an evidence in the court of law. Now, let us to discuss the next category of special customer like married woman. According to the Indian Contract Act 1872, a married woman is competent to enter into contracts and permitted to acquire and sell the property, also to lend money and also borrow money as and when required. In simple, she has all the equal rights on par with a man. She has the power to withdraw checks and give sufficient discharge. In case of overdraft facility, the banker has no remedy if she has no separate property in the name of that woman. A married woman, even if she has property, it may be settled upon her that she is entitled to the income from that property as it falls due, but may not touch the corpus or the anticipated income. A married woman cannot make her husband liable except for necessaries of life. A banker should be careful while granting loans or allowing overdrafts. This is highly essential because his liability of the debts made by her arises in the following circumstances: when and where the husband has given consent or else granted authority to her, where the debt is incurred for the purpose of purchasing the daily essentials and necessities of life. In case the husband is found to have been failed in providing these things to her in the ordinary course of life. Now it is clearly made known the stand of the husband. Other debts, if any, made by wife will not make him liable for payment as a party by the husband. Under these circumstances, the banker has a right to recover from the assets of that woman. It is the responsibility of a banker to make a prior inspection as to the assets of the lady and personally verify and examine the possibility of making recoveries of loans from the woman applicant. In the event of granting any overdraft, also he should take special care and caution. Similarly, the husband of a married woman is not liable for the debts contracted by her, except insofar as they are meant for necessaries of life, and in the event of her husband found to be default in providing them. The banker should not lend money to a married woman on the pretext that her husband has a lot of property. If she does not have separate property, the banker will not have sufficient security for granting the overdraft facility to her because it may be difficult to recover the money from her. In case the wife has a separate property, say freedom, the banker must find the nature of her right over the property. Usually, she may not have the right to sell away, but at the same time, she may enjoy the incomes derived therefrom. Next case is when a married woman applies for a loan to the banker, it is for him to examine whether there is any undue influence exercised by her husband. She must be apprised her of liability for the loans she is contracting, and also she is directed to consult her legal advisors for good opinion in this regard. If there is a joint account in the name of a husband and wife, and if there is any clause to the effect that in the event of the death of one part, the balance available in the account should vest in the hands of the survivor, automatically the position of the banker will be safe and made easy here in this regard. So far, in this session, we have had a special discussion on the steps and measures to be taken by a banker in dealing with special type of customers like joint stock companies, lunatics, drunkards, married women, and illiterate persons in this session. Now, with this, we end this session. Thank you.